the Emmy Awards. We're backstage with the stars next, E.T.
The U.S. puts more bombs, more troops, more confidence into the war in Afghanistan. As bunker busters strike the Taliban, a new prediction. It won't take years to win. Airports everywhere are supposed to be on high alert. Yet a man apparently got knives and a stun gun past what is supposed to be security. New ideas about an anthrax mystery. How did Kathy Wynn get the disease? And Eye on America, suitcase-sized nuclear bombs, relics of the Cold War. Could they fall into terrorist hands?
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting from CBS News headquarters in New York.
Good evening. On several fronts tonight, the campaign to crush the terrorists and their protectors in Afghanistan appears to be gaining momentum, and there is new talk of confidence. The United States is blasting Taliban troop lines, building up the ragtag anti-Taliban forces in northern Afghanistan, and encouraging opponents of the Taliban in the south, where the picture is hazier. We have reports on all of this for you tonight, beginning with CBS News national security correspondent David Martin.
The bombing of Taliban front lines continues to gather steam as the U.S. started using a 15,000-pound bomb, so big it is carried by a cargo plane, and so powerful a parachute is used to slow its fall so the aircraft has time to escape the blast effect. The U.S. has also infiltrated more special operations forces into northern Afghanistan, roughly doubling the number of soldiers calling in strikes on the Taliban.
The effectiveness of bombing is vastly improved as you have people on the ground in communication with the aircraft overhead.
The special forces are operating with troops of the United Front who have been fighting a to-and-fro battle with the Taliban for years, a battle the U.S. wants to turn into a rout. Among other things, the U.S. is looking at setting up bases in Tajikistan, making it easier to resupply the United Front and to keep up the attacks, which already include laser-guided strikes on trench lines and carpet bombing. According to the Pentagon, the Taliban have suffered substantial losses.
It's been a matter of days in some areas where the Taliban have responded to opposition with fire. My guess is that would be because they're either hunkered down and aren't coming out, or they're not able to fire.
The U.S. is resupplying the United Front with Russian weapons. And German television spotted a Russian helicopter with USA painted on its tail fin landing at one Northern Alliance position. The U.S. can make the Taliban weaker and the United Front stronger, but it cannot make the United Front fight.
They've got to make that determination for themselves on the ground, and we are sure that they will. And once they're comfortable, we will attempt to help them.
And the U.S. has started dropping leaflets with a picture of the Taliban leader, Mullah Omar, in the crosshairs. Next to Omar is a picture of a license plate, also in the crosshairs. That license plate belongs to Omar's personal SUV, and the picture was taken by an unmanned reconnaissance drone which has been stalking him for the past month. Dan?
David Martin reporting live from the Pentagon. Inside Afghanistan tonight, there's no let-up in the U.S.-led air campaign trying to clear the way for anti-Taliban forces of what's called the United Front to mount ground attacks. But as CBS's Maureen Maher reports from United Front lines north of Kabul, the timetable for those attacks is out of American hands.
B-52 bombers blasted Taliban targets in the capital city of Kabul and points north today. Heading into the fifth week of airstrikes, the United Front stepped up military exercises in preparation for a move on Taliban territory. But these pictures show the alliance may not be nearly as ready as it says it is. On this day, a Special Forces unit advances on a small Taliban front line. Gunfire and grenades are exchanged. The Alliance Special Forces team moves forward. The Taliban troops jump back. But instead of occupying the Taliban territory, the United Front retreats and accomplishes little more than firing off a few rounds. In the end, the exercise is an example of why the United Front remains frozen in the battlefield, either reluctant or unable to advance their troops or their cause, all of which supports Western military claims that little more than gunfire and smoke can take place until U.S. ground troops come in. and no one is saying when that will be. Maureen Maher, CBS News, Hoja Bahauddin, northern Afghanistan.
For now, U.S.-led airstrikes in Afghanistan are increasingly devoted to supporting anti-Taliban forces in the north. But U.S. war planners are hoping the Taliban will soon face real opposition in southern Afghanistan. CBS's Randall Pinkston reports on a man trying to organize that opposition.
This exiled Afghan leader, now moving secretly inside Afghanistan, may be the first significant sign of a real rebellion against the Taliban in the south. Hamid Karzai, seen here before his dangerous mission, has been on the ground for almost a month.
If he's captured, we know that they will kill him.
Our interview in Quetta with Karzai's younger brother, Ahmed, was interrupted by a phone call from behind enemy lines.
I believe I'm sorry. That's important. I just spoke to him and he says he sounds very good. He said that he went to another they are moving from one district to another district. And he says that our forces are there. We are not worried about the Taliban.
Is this the beginning, you think, of a challenge on the ground?
Well, that's why my brother is inside there, so that's a challenge to the Taliban. That's the beginning.
The Taliban claims Karzai's group was attacked last week and driven into the mountains, forcing a U.S. rescue, a claim the Karzai family denies. This weekend, Defense Secretary Rumsfeld said U.S. planes did drop food and ammunition to Karzai, but there's no indication of any other U.S. support. Hamid Karzai has many reasons to oppose the Taliban and to hate Osama bin Laden.
We hate what he did to Americans. But that is not the fight we have with him. We have our own fight with him.
The Taliban agents of bin Laden killed his father. He was murdered in this quiet Quetta neighborhood in 1999. The family had lived here in exile since the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. The elder Karzai's murder not only robbed the family of a father, it also removed a catalyst for opposition to the Taliban. Now Hamid continues his father's legacy by challenging the Taliban on the ground. The difficulty may be in persuading previously hostile tribes to bury their grievances. Randall Pinkston, CBS News, Quetta.
On the front of the war that is here in America, there are heightened concerns tonight about security lapses in U.S. airports. The rules are stricter now, but they don't mean much if those operating the scanning machines fail to recognize dangers when they see them or are not alert, which, as CBS's Bob Orr tells us, is just what appears to have happened this weekend in Chicago.
When Subhash Gurung went through a United Airlines checkpoint at Chicago's O'Hare Airport on Saturday, screeners found and confiscated 2 pocket knives. What they didn't find were 7 other knives, a stun gun, and a can of mace, all stashed in the man's carry-on.
It just happened out of accident in a hurry. That is all it is. Please do.
The weapons were discovered in a follow-up check by the airline as Gurung prepared to board a flight for Omaha. He was arrested on state charges and later released on bond, explaining that the knives were part of a collection and the stun gun he'd purchased for protection.
Out of insecurity and loneliness, I just bought that things for myself.
Hours later, the FBI rearrested Gurung, charged him with a felony count of trying to carry a weapon aboard an aircraft. Argenbright Security, the private contractor which handles United Screening in Chicago, immediately suspended 7 employees and a supervisor for failing to detect the weapons. But passengers were not comfortable.
Well, it's scary. It certainly is scary.
I don't see how that's possible. Someone screwed up big time.
Secretary of Transportation Norm Mineta late today blamed United Airlines. He called for a substantial fine and ordered an immediate retraining of United screeners at O'Hare.
We are going to hold the airlines and their screening companies accountable. The airlines cannot wash their hands of this duty.
The FBI says there is no evidence the Chicago incident is linked to terrorist activity. But the security failure is strong evidence that 8 weeks after the September 11th attack, the U.S. aviation system is still vulnerable. Bob Orr, CBS News, Washington.
Investigators looking into a baffling inhalation anthrax death here in New York City have some new ideas tonight about the key question. How did this woman become infected? CBS's Jim Stewart has their latest theory on the case. Jim?
Dan, senior law enforcement officials say they are examining the possibility that the most puzzling anthrax death so far that of a 61-year-old hospital worker in New York, may not be so puzzling after all. Officials say it appears that she, too, may have been a victim of cross-contamination, that some of her mail may have crossed paths with letters known to carry anthrax.
Funeral services were held today for Kathy Nguyen, who died last week from inhaled anthrax. Authorities have been mystified by our case because she was so far removed from a letter sent to Washington, which is believed to have killed 2 postal workers, and an earlier case in Florida. But how Miss Nguyen's mail may have been contaminated is still not clear, since earlier checks of her home and workplace had tested negative for anthrax.
If it does turn out to be cross-contamination, then that's a relief in one sense because it means that all the cases are still being traced to the same letters. The bad news for investigators, however, is that it still leaves them no closer to finding the original source. Dan?
Reporting live from Washington, Jim Stewart. Also today, in the investigation of the anthrax attacks, Norma Wallace, a New Jersey postal worker with inhalation anthrax, went home from the hospital today saying there is hope.
I understand I was very close to death, but I understand that I was under the care of physicians who believed in the power of God.
The Pentagon said today traces of anthrax were found in 2 mailboxes at a U.S. post office there. And the Mayo Clinic has a new DNA test that it says can identify anthrax in minutes instead of days. South Florida residents got off relatively easy today. Just a light encounter with Hurricane Michelle. CBS's Bobby Harley reports there was no such luck in Cuba, blasted by Michelle's 130-mile-an-hour winds and up to 20 inches of rain.
It was the most severe storm in more than 50 years to slam into Cuba. The high wind and heavy rain of Hurricane Michelle collapsed at least 24 buildings and caused extensive crop damage. But the worst problem may have been the 18-foot wall of water that washed on shore.
The government says, again, there has been extensive coastal flooding with some loss of life.
Interviewed in Havana by telephone, American Dr. Conrad Duncan described debris in the street, and Cuban officials now confirm at least 5 deaths. Just 90 miles away in Key West, Florida, authorities didn't take any chances.
You're ordered to evacuate your homes and report to shelter.
But Michelle brushed by the Florida Keys with little more punch than a heavy rain and windstorm. On the mainland, Florida's beaches got hit hardest. The high storm surge sucked tons of sand right back into the sea. Still, with only 3 weeks left in the Atlantic hurricane season, U.S. shores for the 2nd year have avoided a direct hurricane hit.
It has been an above average year in terms of the numbers of storms. We've just been fortunate that none of those hurricanes have come ashore in the United States.
While Hurricane Michelle tore through the Bahamas, Hurricane Noel left little doubt just how active this season has been. Forming today in the North Atlantic and posing no threat to land, it became the 14th named storm. That's 2 more than an already high prediction. Bobby Harley, CBS News, Sunny Isles, Florida.
Next here on the CBS Evening News, Eye on America, assessing the terror risks we face. How real is the threat of a terrorist nuclear attack?
Freezing chicken? Only Ziploc double-guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double-guard freezer bag. Freezing steak? Only Ziploc double-guard freezer bags have an inner layer that clings to seal out air that causes freezer burn. Regular freezer bags don't. Put an end to freezer burn with a Ziploc double-guard freezer bag.
Pepperidge Farm Texas Toast.
Okay, I'll get the pasta roll.
Hot, crusty garlic toast. Just 5 minutes to make. It's probably ready before you are. Pepperidge Farm. Never have an ordinary day.
You'd try anything to get some relief from your nasal allergy symptoms. But before you change your life, make an easier change. Multi-symptom Flonase relieves all these nasal allergy symptoms: sneezing, itchy, runny nose, and congestion. Flonase once a day relieves them all day and night. For best results, use daily. Side effects are generally mild and may include headache, nosebleed, or sore throat. Ask your doctor about multi-symptom Flonase. When you get it all it takes is Flonase.
Enter a new era of discovery at Bristol-Myers Squibb, where groundbreaking genetic research is underway.
Winning the Tour de France was a victory for cancer medicines. But Luke, it's just the start of incredible things to come. Imagine, Luke, your medical history. The story of your genes on a card you carry in your wallet. Your doctor sees your cancer coming years before and gives you a daily pill to take that could prevent it.
At the Bristol-Myers Squibb Center for Applied Genomics, researchers strive to unlock the secrets of breast and colon cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. They're developing medicines tailored to your unique genes. Bristol-Myers Squibb is beginning a revolution in medicine. Our goal is to extend and enhance life and to lead the way in new frontiers against disease.
Hope, triumph, and the miracle of medicine. Bristol-Myers Squibb Company.
Why do I eat?
Healthy choice sesame chicken.
Because it tastes great.
Because my body needs...
My body needs balanced nutrition. Why do I eat healthy choice?
That's why.
That's why.
Tonight's Eye on America is the first in a series of hard news reports this week assessing possible terror threats facing the U.S. There are many fears and many scenarios, but what are the real risks? Tonight's focus, the threat of nuclear terror. CBS's Jerry Bowen brings you the facts.
The country's customs agents have something fairly new in the fight against nuclear terrorism. Hidden radiation detectors that go off if anyone tries to smuggle in any radioactive material. But if some of America's one-time enemies are correct, the threat may already be here.
Unfortunately, some of these devices are still located on American soil.
Stanislav Lunev is a former Soviet military intelligence officer, a defector who's now in the federal witness protection program. He claims that before the Cold War ended a decade ago, Soviet agents planted so-called suitcase nuclear bombs, similar to this mock-up, in the United States and other Western countries. Nuclear bombs that could be triggered if war broke out.
They were designed to destroy extremely highly protected American targets.
Lunev, his identity protected, told the same story to Congress, and a former Soviet general told CBS's 60 Minutes that the suitcase bombs existed. But many U.S. defense analysts are convinced Russia actually retrieved and dismantled all the small nuclear devices.
My own view is that's not a major worry. Those kinds of weapons, if they ever existed, were under the clear control of the Russian or Soviet state, and I don't think they would have been available to terrorists.
But the Soviets weren't the only ones to create a so-called suitcase nuke. This recently declassified film shows how the United States had them in its arsenal in the early 60s. Defense experts dismiss the possibility that terrorists can build one themselves.
And certainly to do something like that in the mountains of Afghanistan would be extraordinarily difficult.
But 4 years ago, Osama bin Laden was named in a federal indictment for attempting to buy enriched uranium, nuclear material which experts say can be used in a conventional explosive. The poor man's way to spread radioactive fallout.
But it's difficult to get that much radioactive material into the bomb and then disperse it around an area in such a way as to cause major casualties.
But might bin Laden have obtained some larger nuclear warheads with outside help?
I know from intelligence estimations that he obtained several devices from former Soviet Union, tactical nuclear devices.
Reports like this are unsubstantiated, and whether Al-Qaeda could handle and smuggle such things is thought to be highly improbable. Still, U.S. customs agents are training border guards from countries surrounding Afghanistan to detect nuclear material. One more small front in a very different kind of war where nothing is being taken for granted. In Los Angeles, this is Jerry Bowen for Eye on America.
With the U.S. economy now generally considered to be in recession, the Federal Reserve Board is widely expected to lower short-term interest rates tomorrow for the 10th time this year. Anticipating that, Wall Street sent stocks higher today. The Dow rose 117 points, the NASDAQ 47. But gasoline prices keep falling. The national average for a gallon of unleaded regular is now $1.20, down almost 3 cents from last week and 32 cents from a year ago. CBS Next, Election 2001. In one key race tomorrow, voters decide who will run New York after Giuliani.
They call it agro-terrorism. Is America's food supply safe from attack? Could U.S. crops and livestock become targets? Tomorrow, our Eye on America series travels to the heartland for a look at whether the risks are real and what it all means for you on the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Got a cold? Trying anything to get a good night's sleep? Right. You need NyQuil. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever, so you can sleep better to feel better medicine.
I feel like it's crazy here. My family always eats in shifts. There's the twins first, home from school, then there's soccer practice. My daughter, Doreen, she's off to work. Then my husband comes home. He's always late. Thank goodness I found this new kind of dinner roll from Pillsbury. From the freezer. I just take out what I need, 2 or 10, throw them in the oven, and bake them up in minutes. It's perfect because I have everything ready whenever they decide to show up. Authentic home-baked classics. In the freezer. I don't know what I'd do without them.
Once you pass 50, skincare's a whole new game.
L'Oreal introduces age-perfect anti-sagging and ultra-hydrating treatment.
Because mature skin has issues all its own. It starts to sag, loses resiliency, and needs more moisture.
Age-perfect actually improves skin's resiliency, tightening its network as it deeply rehydrates. So effective, 83% of women reported more resilient skin.
It's a major breakthrough for mature skin.
New age-perfect anti-sagging and ultra-hydrating treatment, only from L'Oreal.
Because you're worth it.
How precise can changing a hearing aid battery get? Oh, this precise. Introducing the Energizer Easy Change, the world's first hearing aid battery dispenser. Simply turn the dial, then slide the battery out to activate. The magnetic arm holds the battery securely for precise placement every time, no matter what hearing aid style or battery size you use. The Energizer Easy Change. It changes batteries precisely.
Tomorrow is Election Day 2001. If you believe the polls, Democrats are favored to take over Republican-held governorships in New Jersey and Virginia. It's an off-year election, but in no way routine, not after the attacks on America. And as CBS's Anthony Mason reports, nowhere is that more evident than in the race for mayor here in hard-hit New York City.
In the aftermath of September 11th, Rudy Giuliani has risen from New York mayor to national hero.
It's been an honor to be your mayor for 8 years.
But tomorrow, term limits require the city to choose a new leader in the midst of what may be its greatest crisis.
Do you think the city's condition is going to get worse before it gets better?
Oh, yes.
Former Mayor Ed Koch led the city out of deep financial troubles in the 70s.
I thought they were pretty horrendous at the time, but these are far greater.
The catastrophe at the World Trade Center has cost the city 100,000 jobs, caused a $4 billion budget deficit, and an estimated $40 billion in cleanup costs. The new mayor will need to be more than tough.
It's going to take money, a lot of money.
Daily News columnist Pete Hamill says he'll have to be a super salesman in Washington.
When the mayor has to be a salesman to his own people to convince them to stay, to don't run.
But Giuliani, by looming so large in this crisis, has made the candidates look small.
I found it hard to understand why we couldn't come up with better candidates, but we didn't.
Democrat Mark Green has no business experience. Businessman Mike Bloomberg has no political experience. And neither has the charisma of the man they will replace.
They're going to have to quickly, as mayor, try to acquire a bit of the Giuliani aura.
The stakes are high, not just for the candidates, but for the city and the country.
The country is going to have to make an enormous investment in us. So it ought to care a great deal.
It's been called the second toughest job in America. For New York's next mayor, it will be even tougher. Anthony Mason, CBS News, New York.
Whatever the fate of Michael Bloomberg here in New York, a former businessman will be the next president of Nicaragua. 73-year-old Enrique Bolaños, the man on the right, defeated former president and Sandinista leader Daniel Ortega yesterday. Bolaños spent time in prison under Ortega. He vowed to work for national reconciliation and a free market economy for Nicaragua. The CBS Evening News continues in just a few moments.
Do you love lots of butter on your popcorn? We've got good news. Orville Redenbacher's Ultimate Butter Gourmet Popping Corn. It's a very buttery way to kick back, relax, and get Orvilleized.
Over the years, I've learned that when something works, you stick with it. There you go. After bypass surgery a few years ago, I needed to lower my cholesterol. My doctor told me about Zocor. He said Zocor, along with a healthy diet and exercise, could really lower my cholesterol. Okay, let's do it again. Taking Zocor every day has kept my cholesterol where it should be and significantly reduces the risk of heart attack among people with high cholesterol and heart disease. That's something to feel good about.
Zocor is a prescription medication and is not for everyone, including women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant, or people with liver problems. Your doctor may do blood tests to check for liver problems because serious side effects can result. Tell your doctor about any muscle pain or weakness you experience and about any medicines you are taking.
Good job! When diet and exercise aren't enough, ask your doctor about Zocor. Take care of yourself. It's your future. Be there.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but it comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may know about the burning pain of acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
But today, there's a purple pill called Nexium. It's from the makers of Prilosec. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And importantly, Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with today's purple pill called Nexium.
Why do I rent from Enterprise? For more cargo room, more people room, or more headroom. Enterprise. So easy, it's like having a second car. Or third.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
You won't find as many holiday jobs this year. See why tonight on Coin 6 News at 6. In our CBS Evening News in notes, a hearty lunch today for Robert Tools, who in July became the first to receive an implanted mechanical heart. Doctors say Tools is doing well, but needs to gain weight. So he had a Philly cheesesteak, collard greens, and cornbread topped off with lemon meringue pie. While Tools celebrates his progress, the world champion Arizona Diamondbacks and their Phoenix fans celebrate last night's exciting come-from-behind victory over the New York Yankees. We'll tip our CBS ball cap to both teams for one of the most exciting World Series in years, but especially the Diamondbacks, who earned the title champions. Part of our world tonight. Dan Rather reporting from CBS News World Headquarters in New York. We invite you to join us.